Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I'm going to use Christmas stamps to not make a Christmas card. Okay, so I have this stencil I purchased from Hero Arts this last fall, and I also have the stamp and die set from their, I think it was the October kit of the month, and it is Christmas holiday themed. I also have an Avriel birthday stamp set I'm going to use. But the technique I want to show you today is this transfer gel. Now, there are about 101 ways to get foil on your cards, and transfer gel is one, and all the instructions are on the back. And basically what you do is you apply it to your card front or your card stock or whatever paper you're using with a stencil, with a palette knife, with whatever, and then you let it dry, and you use a heat type foil to apply it to get foil on your card. So the first thing I'm going to do is try and center the circle on this piece of cardstock so that it is in the middle of my panel of cardstock. This is a 4 by 5 1/4 inch blue piece of cardstock, and I am going to just kind of fidget with it, make sure it's straight, and then I'm going to tape it. Now, hindsight being all things that it is, I should have put a little bit of adhesive on the back of the cardstock and then taped it down to my work surface and then taped the stencil down, because it was a little bit messy getting the stencil and the paper separated. But, it's all a learning curve, so now I know. So I am going to go ahead and put a little bit more of the Post-it tape in the corner of the stencil just to keep it from moving while I am applying the transfer gel. So this is the iCraft Deco Foil Transfer Gel. And this is meant to adhere Deco Arts foil to paper with heat. So I will be using a laminator as well. But the first thing we need to do is apply the transfer gel to the cardstock through the stencil. So this is the Hero Arts, what's the name of this one? Snowflake stencil. I can't remember the name of it. I'm looking at the paper and I don't know. It's a snowflake stencil. And I'm wanting to make a winter themed birthday card, and I thought it would be cool to see if I could do that using some Christmas stamps without making it Christmas. So that's where we are. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and finish putting the transfer gel through the stencil. I am doing a relatively thin layer. I'm not adding this on. It's not texture paste. It's got the consistency of like a gel medium. And I'm going to go ahead and scrape the extra off with my palette knife and put it back into my jar, making sure that there's no blue poking through my stencil. And once I have it put down on through the stencil, oh my gosh, words are hard, I'm going to go ahead and peel the stencil up and then try very carefully to get the paper off of the stencil. And I did kind of munch that snowflake in that bottom right hand corner, and now I'm trying to figure out how to get the tape off. It was a little bit extra, I'm not going to lie. It took me a minute to get it all done. One thing you need to know is that this transfer gel needs to be washed off of your stencil and your palette knife about as quickly as you can. You don't want it to dry. I am just running my fingers along the edge to get any goopy parts off so they don't dry and be all thick. And here we are an hour later. It does say it takes about an hour to dry, and it needs to be clear. That's how you know it's ready. So I have this roll of gold Deco Arts foil. It's been in my stash for a minute and a half, or, a lot of minutes and a half. And I'm just going to use my scissors to cut down a piece that covers the front of my card panel. You can cut this with whatever cutting implement you choose to use. You can use your paper trimmer. I don't think a guillotine trimmer would work very well, but scissors work awesome. And I'm just going to go ahead and roll that roll back up and just use this piece that I have trimmed off. The next thing you need is a carrier sheet. Now, if you are using a Heidi Swap machine or a Mink machine, it has a carrier sheet with it. I am using my good old-fashioned school laminator. It's a Scotch. Got it for 25 bucks at Walmart. So my carrier sheet is going to become this piece of copy paper. So I am just going to fold it in half, hamburger style, as my kids call it, and run it through my laminator. Here, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit and run it through my laminator with the foil side up. Now, I don't know if it actually matters, to be honest. I just went with the foil side up, and you'll see that the green light on my laminator is on, so that means it's ready. I did run it through 2 times. I don't think that was necessary, and I will show you why. Oh, and I sped that part up like 4 times, so it took a little bit longer than that. So once I have that pulled out of my laminator, and I've moved my laminator off my work surface, I am going to take that piece out of the carrier sheet, and there is a little bit of overfoiling there. Not a big deal. I am making sure that it's cool. And as you can see, it just peels off brilliantly. It's beautiful. But there was just a little bit of overfoiling in the center there. And I think that's because I sent it through the second time. So next time I do it, I'll try it one time and see how that works. But now I have this beautiful snowflake background that I can use to begin to build another layer on for my birthday card. So I want to stamp some of the images from that Hero Arts kit, the October stamp kit. It's the all silhouettes. It's got Happy Holidays and all the North Pole things. But I want to use this little cluster of trees in the cabin. Now, it does have some candy canes on it. But they're not super noticeable when I get done. I'm also going to use this Avriel, trying to find the stamp set so I can tell you the name of it. Here it is. This is the Avriel Inside Birthday Greetings. And I'm going to be using that smaller happy birthday sentiment. I contemplated using the deer from the Hero Art stamp set as well, but I ended up just going with this cluster of houses. And now I'm trying to get the stamp set out of the package so I can go ahead and put the happy birthday sentiment on it. I am going to now add gold another way with heat embossing. I know, I'm doing all the things. I just went crazy. So once I have those stamped images picked up with my Misty lid, I'm going to make sure my paper is in fact in the top left corner. And then I am going to treat this cardstock with my Rabbit Hole Designs Cotton Tell Anti-Static Powder Tool. Oh, I almost got that out. When you are heat embossing, it is really important when you've touched and manhandled the paper a lot, especially, to put an anti-static powder down so that the heat embossing powder only sticks to the ink and not the oils and stuff left behind by your fingers. So I am going to ink up these images with my Versamark ink. This is a clear, very sticky ink. It stays wet for a few minutes so that you can add that embossing powder to the cardstock. Now, I have not used either of these, the house image before, and I was wondering if I was going to have to re-ink it, but I didn't. It just stamped beautifully. So I am going to use Brutus Monroe Gold and Gilded Embossing Powder. So this is a fine detail embossing powder. I've heard a lot of people raving about it, and I needed a new gold embossing powder, so I decided to try this one, and it is a really pretty gold. It did do very well on the sentiment. The cabin and trees look fabulous. Like I said, you can't really just at first glance tell there's candy canes in those trees, so I think it's meant to be like a gingerbread house, but whatever, it looks like a cabin in the woods to me. I'm just going to dump that embossing powder back into the container, and then I'm going to use my heat tool to heat set this. I did heat it up a little bit off camera, and this embossing powder melted super quick. I did not speed that up. That was real time. So now I need to make a card base. So I've pulled out a piece of 110-pound white cardstock. I don't know where I got this. Stampin' Up, Michael's, Joann's, you name it. I've got 110-pound cardstock from all the places. I'm going to cut that in half so that it is a top-folding A2 size portrait-style card, meaning that it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. I will score the cardstock. The paper is actually 11 inches. I will score it in half at 5.5, and then it becomes 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I'm just going to go ahead and fold that down, line up the corners so it's a nice straight fold, and burnish that fold with my bone folder for a nice crease, which is especially important when you are making top folding portrait cards because you are folding against the grain. Also, this is a thicker, heavier cardstock, so it just helps make it nice and clear, or nice and crisp, rather. So we're kind of down to the end here. This was not a long video other than the waiting to dry time. I am going to adhere this panel down flat. It is a little bit buckled from the heat embossing and the heaviness of the transfer transfer gel, sorry. I'm going to adhere this flat down with my double-sided adhesive in my ATG gun, or whatever. It's called the Advanced Tape Glider, but somehow it got nicknamed ATG gun. I don't know. And I'm just going to burnish this really good with my hands from the front and the back. And look how shiny and pretty that is for a winter birthday card. I decided I wanted to go back to this Avery stamp set and stamp one of those inside stamps. And I'm going to stamp the one that says, let me get it upright so I can read it. I hope your birthday is just like you, totally freaking awesome. And I don't know who I'm going to send this to yet, but somebody's going to get a totally freaking awesome birthday card. I just had to make sure which one it was. I'm going to put this back in my MISTI in case for 2 reasons. I don't stamp straight with a stamp block. You know, straight lines and we're frenemies. But at least in my MISTI, I've got the grids on the lid there to make sure that it's mostly lined up right. But also, this is a new stamp, and I want to make sure that if need be, I can stamp it again. I will be using my VersaFine Clair Nocturne Black ink. There we go. And without fail, in my craft room, this ink stamps beautifully, even on stamps the first time out the package. Look at that. There's no smudging, no smear, and I just love how shiny and pretty, even though my golds are not exactly a match, I love how shiny and pretty it turned out. I'm going to zoom in here for you so you can see the candy canes kind of sort of show up, but whatever, we're ignoring that. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I hope you enjoyed seeing how you can use Christmas images for not Christmas cards. I have another couple videos here I think you might like, as well as a subscribe button. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment below, give me a thumbs up, and have a great day.